Well, actually, it's good being here in Nepal right now because this topic sort of came into my consciousness today, actually. One thing I would say, though, is I kind of disagree that we're not in an anthropocentric world. I think we're in a very much anthropocentric world. And there may be people who have dogs or cats and, they have their pets. They consider the animals part of their family and they don't distinguish, they consider them part of the family. Or like you were saying, for the students that raise an animal either in a animal science class or more commonly in the rural areas in the Midwest and around the country where kids participate in 4-H programs, then animals are very much a part of their world. I know I did mention to you the difference between animal welfare and animal rights. And that's one area that I always like to remind people of is that, animal welfare, you're thinking about the well-being of the animal and whether it is comfortable getting enough food, getting enough medical care, it's free to move around. Whereas animal rights, you could almost think of that a little bit in the same sense as human rights. And,
Mhm.
whether we have the right to keep animals as pets. I mean, somebody who's an animal rights person is something that, would be something that a purist
Unacceptable.
unacceptable to own, because the animal has its own autonomy and you want to give them the ability to have the freedom to decide maybe it doesn't want to be your pet. And it's a little bit, if you make the analogy with human rights and animal rights, keep animals in our society and in under our laws are considered property, no different than a table or a lamp. And so, you can't own an animal if it's proper. You can't if it has its own rights, and you can't own a being that is not property. You can own property, but if the animal is an individual and has rights the same way that, now we think that it's unacceptable to own other human beings as slaves. Well, maybe 100 years from now, we'll realize that it's unacceptable to own other animals because really we're all animals. We call other animals non-human animals, but humans are animals. We're all
Of
animals.
course. I hope it's earlier than 100 years, Julie.
Yeah. Oh,
I hope
yeah.
it's
I
100.
mean, yeah, sometimes I'm more pessimistic than others, but
Yeah.
it's true that, we like in the animal law space, we like to use the terminology non-human animals because
Mm.
that lets people understand that, we all have evolved, you know, from,
Separately.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
humans are just one branch of the tree of life. You have great apes and you have humans that have evolved through the ages. And, it's not, we don't make a distinction between we're all animals. And so why should non-human animals not have the same ability to have autonomy and freedom for themselves? Now, I
Yeah.
tend to think I would like to, and the funny thing here is that in Nepal, people use the term animal rights, and yet they eat meat and they have pets. And I wonder if they really understand what they're saying. I think sometimes people are talking more about animal welfare. They would like to see animals not abused. They would like to see animals, starving on the street or having almost no medical care. And of course, cruelty toward animals is very prevalent in a society where you have dogs wandering around that are poorly fed, they have bad skin conditions.